All right, guys, we're going to keep the tilt to 2-3 minutes here. Quick tilt because we have 12 games to talk about. So, okay. If you guys did not follow my preseason content, I went on a streak, and I'm still on a streak of over 2 weeks where I got players in massive foul trouble, which you shouldn't be dealing with in preseason DFS. Right? Preseason DFS, guys who don't play normal minutes, you shouldn't even have to deal with foul trouble. But I've dealt with foul trouble almost every single slate in the preseason, and then either an injury. So one or the other, I've dealt with every single slate, and we kept the streak going today. So, the first couple guys getting in massive foul trouble, not the end of the world, because Horford. Let's go my lineup. So, Horford was massive chalk. The only way he was going to fail tonight was foul trouble, and I mentioned that in videos. I think there's a shot he gets in foul trouble. That's the only way he fails, and sure enough. He got in massive foul trouble. He lost huge minutes. A couple of those fouls were ticky-tack, though. I was like, is that really a foul? But whatever. Horford foul trouble, okay, is massive chalk. Also, Tyrese Maxey, massive foul trouble. As a guard getting in foul trouble, really? But again, massive chalk, 77% out. So, I tilted about it on Twitter. Whatever, it's okay. We're going into the late game. I got a low-owned Pat Beverly, right? So, again. There's no way I get a third player in massive foul trouble at low ownership, right? Wrong. 2 fouls in 2 minutes to start the game. Comes in the second quarter, plays like 3 minutes, picks up his third. And then I'm watching it at halftime. I'm already on, if you guys follow me on Twitter, most of my tilt tweets are kind of jokes. I'm mad. I'm kind of joking mad. The Pat Beverly stuff, I'm actually really pissed off about because he was so low owned. And if you watch the start of the second half, he just picks up the dumbest 4th foul ever, goes right to the bench. I'm just he lost at least 15 minutes tonight because of massive foul trouble. So the Pat Bev one, actually, I'm actually really mad about that. So yeah, there's 3 guys that got in foul trouble. It's just there were 3 guys total that got in big foul trouble tonight on a 2-game slate. I had all 3, Maxey, Horford, and Beverly. Embiid, chalk Embiid, I faded, picked up 2 quick fouls. You better believe he stayed in the game. If I get someone in foul trouble like Pat Beverly, ganked instantly. So it's just you can't make it up, right? So we kept the streak going. Maybe we'll go for 3 weeks now of getting someone in massive foul trouble or injured. We'll keep it going. So again, if you guys are watching for the first time for the regular season, we're going to keep this streak going probably. But I'm going over the rest of my lineup. So I was really high on Steph Curry for tournaments because I knew he was going to be low owned. He absolutely smashed at only 16% ownership too. AD was a little bit of a letdown. He was fine. He started off really, really hot, then kind of cooled off there. Tatum smashed. I preferred him slightly to LeBron. I think he outscored LeBron by a couple. Brogdon was my favorite of those Boston guards. He did very well. And then, Pat Beverly, like I said, massive foul trouble. You just can't make it up. You can't make it up. And with him losing foul trouble, I faded literally giga chalk Kendrick Nunn. And with Beverly losing all his minutes, massive chalk Nunn gained so many minutes because of it. It's just come on now. Come on. And then Austin Reeves, he was a low-owned value one too. He couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. So that's everything. That is the recap. A couple other things. So cherry on top here was I entered the 4th quarter showdown, and the game was a 26-28 point game, looking like a massive blowout. In the 4th quarter showdowns, there's a big edge when the games blow out because you want to target, the end of the bench guys. So I have guys like Scottie Pippen, Damian Jones at 4%. I'm thinking, yes, this is going to be, I'm going to make all my money back here, probably get a takedown. People play these starters when it's a 26-point game. Sure enough, the Lakers go a 20-0 run to make it competitive, and it's burned more money in the 4th quarter showdown. Oh, and I got reverse swept on Prize Picks. Great to have NBA regular season back. All right, that's it, guys. Again, I know we have a lot to talk about here, 12 games, so let's just get right into it. Washington and Indiana. So Washington, this is a game where 2 teams that don't play a lot of defense, 2 teams that play relatively fast. You have Beal and Porzingis at the top. I think Porzingis looks really good, assuming he can stay healthy. Played him in the last preseason slate. He got injured. But yeah, Porzingis, I think, is a really, really good option. Again, if he can stay out of foul trouble and he can stay healthy, I think Porzingis has a very, very high ceiling. I do prefer him to Beal. Beal not completely out of play, but again, Porzingis is the option there. Kuzma kind of just indifferent on him at 6.6. Barton and Morris in the mid-range, they're both fine too, like just okay options. Both those guys should see, 25, 30-ish minutes. Off the bench, you have Daniel Gafford, who my life would be so much better if I never rostered this guy. Rostered him in the last preseason slate. He gets in massive foul trouble, just like every time with this guy. But he'll play the backup 5. He's a little pricey. Rui will get some run off the bench. Don't love it. DeLon Wright would also get some run off the bench. Don't love him either. Moving on to the Pacers. So Halliburton should be leading the way offensively. I think he's probably your safest bet. He'll have the ball in his hands. He should play over 30 minutes. Again, it's a good matchup. I think he looks pretty solid there. The mid-range options, you have Hield and Duarte will also pick up the start. I think I slightly prefer Duarte for the price point over Hield. Hield does have a ceiling, though, but has to hit his shots to get value. I do like Miles Turner in the mid-range. They kind of took it easy on his minutes in the preseason, but I think he's going to play over 30 minutes, and I think he's going to be very productive here. So I like Miles Turner there in the mid-range. Jalen Smith, questionable. He will start the 4 if he's available. If not, they could go to maybe like a O'Shea Brissett or Terry Taylor, so keep an eye on that. And then I'll mention Benedict Mathurin. He'll be a guy that'll come off the bench and chuck. I think he's at least a little bit interesting there for tournaments. And TJ McConnell will play the backup point guard at 4.2K. Is productive, so I think he's a fair value play. And if Turner gets in some foul trouble, you can look to a guy like Isaiah Jackson, who will be the backup 5 there. And again, is a good point per minute guy. Moving on to Orlando and Detroit. So Orlando, they've been kind of changing up the starting lineups here and there. So I don't know exactly what the starting lineup will look like. It should be Paolo, Wendell Carter Jr., Franz Wagner will for sure be in the starting lineup. They've been messing around with Cole Anthony in there at times, Jalen Suggs at times, Terrence Ross at times. You even had Mo Bamba pick up a start. So we'll see about the other starters. As far as the top-end guys, Banchero, Carter Jr., I think are both solid options in the mid-range. If Carter Jr., I should say, starts at the 5, I like him a lot more. His floor and ceiling goes way up when he starts at the 5. If they start Bamba at the 5, I don't like Carter Jr. as much. Banchero at 6'8", kind of indifferent on him. I think he's going to be one of the top options offensively. I just don't love the price point. Franz is fine. I think I'd rather go to Banchero, though, and Wendell Carter Jr. And then with the guards, there's no one more frustrating to roster than Cole Anthony. This guy is so up and down. If he picks up the start, yes, he's going to play for tournaments. You do have Jalen Suggs back, too. He could start. Terrence Ross, again, he'll chuck when he's out there, but I would rather take a shot in guys like Anthony or Suggs. Mo Bamba, again, keep an eye on the starting lineup. Obviously, like him more if he starts. Bull could see some rotation minutes at the flat minimum price if you wanted a dart throw in large field tournaments. Moving on to Detroit. So Detroit is my team. I grew up in Michigan, so I'm a Pistons fan, but Cade is just such a frustrating roster too. Played this guy in the preseason. He's just always in foul trouble. A guard should not be in foul trouble. Cade's literally always in foul trouble. So, with the 2 guards here, Cade and Ivy, they're both fair options. Don't love either, but they should run the show offensively. And if they both, I had them both last preseason game, they both had 4 fouls in the first half. How is that even possible? How? So if they stay out of foul trouble, the 2 Pistons guards are fine plays. The wings and Sadiq Bey and Bojan, Isaiah Stewart most likely starts the 5. He's a guy that does have a ceiling, but he's kind of up and down too for a big. You don't rarely see that from bigs, but yeah, Stewart still has shown a low floor. With Bagley out, Duran should get the backup 5 run. I think he's viable in a tournament. And then probably my favorite point per dollar play. I know it's not exciting, but Killian Hayes is only 3.5. He's going to be the first guy off the bench for the Pistons. So I like the price point here a good amount on Killian Hayes. I think he actually is a solid salary relief play. Chicago and Miami. So it looks like we already have the starting 5, but also Levine's status is up in the air. I think Levine plays. With the big 3 here, DeRozan, Levine, and Vucevic. I think Vucevic probably the best point per dollar play there at 7.2. DeRozan has been the most consistent. But yeah, point per dollar is probably Vooch. And then the more contrarian option will be Zach LaVine, who kind of has struggled and they've been taking easy on his minutes in the preseason. Io will start the point. He's going to be a low usage guy. I think I'd rather take shots on maybe a Kobe White off the bench, Caruso, or even Goran Dragic. I'm not sure exactly how that backup guard rotation is going to work. Maybe you do see Kobe White kind of X'd out and they go to Caruso and Dragic instead, but there is some uncertainty with how exactly Chicago is going to run that backup point or backup guard position. And then Drummond's 4.9. If Vooch gets in foul trouble, he can break a slate. But Chicago also has experimented in the preseason with small ball lineups, so that does worry me a bit with Drummond, especially at a price point of 4.9K. Miami. So top end guys here, you have Jimmy, Bam, Hero, and Lowry. I think Bam and Hero are the guys that stand out. Like Bam, 6.4K does feel too cheap. Vucevic, not like an amazing defender. He's not great, but like I just think this is a little bit too cheap for Bam and Adebayo. So I do have interest in him, and I do like Hero. I think Hero starts. I like him quite a bit. I mean, Hero's going to be aggressive offensively. I think Bam and Hero are the two top options. Jimmy is just too pricey for me. I'm going to play Bam and Adebayo and Hero over him all day long when they're $3,000 cheaper. Lowry, I would rather play Hero. I think the ceiling's much higher there. As far as the other starter, probably is Caleb Martin, or is it Cody Martin? It's Caleb Martin, yeah. Probably is Caleb Martin. Off the bench, I don't really want to go to Martin, though. Off the bench, you probably see Gabe Vincent, Strus, Dedmon, maybe some Robinson, maybe some Highsmith or Jovic. I don't know if there's anyone I would take a shot. Probably the guy, if I was to take a shot on someone off the bench, it would be Strus and hope that he knocks down his shots. All right, Cleveland and Toronto. So with Cleveland, they are kind of a balanced team if you just look at, their main options. However, they do have a pretty bad bench. So I do expect pretty big minutes here for the starter. So with the guards here, Mitchell and Garland, I think they're both fair plays. I think Garland probably looks a little bit better point per dollar, but I would say Mitchell probably has the higher ceiling. As far as the bigs go, Allen and Mobley, they're both pretty similar to me. And with Mobley being about $1,000 cheaper, I'm going to give the edge to him. LeVert most likely starts at the wing, at the 3. He becomes a bit scoring dependent, though, when he's playing the wing instead of like a guard role. And then off the bench, I do like Kevin Love at 5'2". Minutes, he's probably not going to play a ton, but Love is like a good point per minute guy, so I do kind of like him for GPPs. You probably see a little bit of run for Okoro and Osman off the bench as well. Maybe some backup point guard run for Neto, but I don't think I want to take a shot on really anyone other than Kevin Love off the bench. On the Toronto side, so the positive for Toronto, especially in the regular season, they run a very tight rotation. You're probably going to see a 7-8 man rotation here for Toronto, so the main 5 are all in play with VanVleet, Siakam, Barnes, Trent, and OG Anunoby. I think Siakam looks the best point per dollar there at 7.6. I just like this feels like a too cheap of a price point. If you look back, like he was in the 9K range for a while. So I know it's a tougher matchup against Cleveland's front court, but Siakam just feels very underpriced for me. So I like Siakam good amount there. I think VanVleet's solid as well, but do prefer Siakam. The other options are kind of just there, like the secondary guys. Barnes, Trent, OG, no real strong leans for any of them. I mentioned liking OG as a value play at last preseason slate. He went absolutely crazy. I think he went for like 30-plus real-life points. Off the bench, Boucher's doubtful, so you probably see some Precious Achiuwa. He's 4.9, though, so it's not an amazing price point. You probably do see a little bit of Delano Banton as well at the flat end price. And then maybe a little bit of Thad Young, too, I would guess, off the bench. Well, I guess we do have Malachi Flynn. He could actually play over Banton. But guys, I'm pretty sure will be in the bench rotation will be Achiuwa, and then probably Thad Young. Then maybe one of those guards sees a little bit of run. All right, New York and Memphis. So with the Knicks, again, they usually give the starters big minutes. So that is a positive, except for this preseason. Like Tom Thibodeau actually did not play the starters a lot in the preseason. First time we've seen that. But you got Randall 7'9", Barrett 7'4", Brunson at 6'9". I think that big 3, they all look pretty decent. I think Brunson probably my favorite since he's the cheapest. He's me running the point guard position. I think he does look pretty good. Barrett and Randall definitely still in play, though. Mitchell Robinson, another guy that will take years off your life if you play him in DFS, kind of like Daniel Gafford. I mean, this guy either absolutely smashes or he absolutely kills you. There's almost no in between. He either gets in massive foul trouble or he goes for a game with like 7 blocks and a double-double. And there's almost no in between. And then you have Evan Fournier. I absolutely hate rostering this guy, but he's going to start. He'll have one of the big games. He'll have a big game once every 10 to 15 times. Off the bench, you'll see some Quickly and Rose. I do think Quickly is at least a little bit interesting. I don't know how many minutes, how much run exactly he's going to get, but solid point per minute guy will chuck when he's out there. Then Hartenstein will play the backup 5. He's 4.2K. So just wanted to mention that. Moving on to Memphis. So we got no Triple J. Brooks is doubtful, and Zaire Williams is out. So starting lineup for Memphis will be Ja, Bane, Adams, Santi Aldama is going to start at the 4. And then you probably see Conchar start, I would think. But this Memphis is actually relatively thin. So again, Ja, Bane, Adams, probably Conchar, and Santi Aldama. Off the bench, you're definitely going to see Tyus Jones. You're definitely going to see Brandon Clark. That's 7. Maybe you see a little bit of run for Xavier Tillman. But they might have to dust off like one of these rookies and play them a little bit. I don't think I want to play them, but I was just thinking out the rotation out loud. So And with that being said, if Conchar starts, I mean, at 3.7K, I do have some interest in him. I don't think he's going to play huge minutes, but you probably get at least 20 from him in the starting lineup. So 20 minutes, that is. So Conchar, I think, is a solid value. You could get some Tyus Jones alongside Ja. Like, you could get some 3-guard lineups here for Memphis with them being relatively shorthanded. So a little bit interesting guy, Tyus Jones as well for GPPs. But back to the top, I mean, Ja Morant is a good spend up. He's going to do everything for this team. 9.9K is a lot, but it's Ja Morant. Bane in the mid-range does have a bit of a lower floor, but when he gets it going, he has a very high ceiling. Adams, I think, is a relatively safe play. Should play like mid-20s minutes. Probably doesn't close, but yeah, I think he's fair. Brandon Clark will get that backup 5 run off the bench. He is a good point per minute guy. I do think he is a decent value option. Then I mentioned Santi Aldama. I mean, he's going to start, and he's actually played pretty well for this team. He's a guy that can knock down some threes. He can stretch the floor. So I think he's a fair value there too at 4K. Houston and Atlanta. So, oh yeah, I am super excited to talk about this team. This is going to just be, love seeing the Rockets on a slate. It's just, and they play no defense. They play fast. They're good offensively. It's an all young team. This is just, I love it for DFS. So starting 5 here for Houston should be Jabari Smith, KPJ, Sengun, Jalen Green, Eric Gordon. You should see Tari Eason first guy off the bench. Josh Christopher will play off the bench. Martin and Matthews are probably the other guys that do get run as well. As far as backup 5 goes, I mean, they'll probably have Bruno Fernando, Garuba. I don't know exactly what they do with the backup 5, but I don't think I want to target whoever it is. But as far as the starting group goes, I mean, if this game can stay competitive, I like a lot here from Houston. The 2 guards, KPJ, Jalen Green, are going to lead the way offensively. I think they both feel too cheap. KPJ 6'5", Jalen Green's 5'4". That just feels way underpriced. My boy, Alfred Sengun, at only 5'6". So here's the thing. He is also very productive when he's on the court, but he's also always in foul trouble, Sengun. So it's going to be a stressful year for me because I'm going to play a lot of Sengun. And you're going to see me tilt a lot about him getting in foul trouble on Twitter. So, the 2 guards plus Sengun, I think, look really good. Jabari Smith missed the last couple of preseason games, but he's a guy that should see a lot of minutes. And then Tari Eason, my pick for Rookie of the Year, I think is very, very underrated. He should see a lot of minutes off the bench as well. So, for me, I like a lot for Houston. Eric Gordon's fine, but like if I'm going to play, I would just rather spend up a little bit more for Green or KPJ. For KPJ especially, much higher floor and Green, much higher ceiling than Eric Gordon. So a lot to like here for Houston. Christopher, I think, is worth at least a dart throw off the bench. He'll be productive when he's on the court. I don't know if I want to take shots on guys like Martin, Matthews, or whoever the backup 5 is. All right, Atlanta. So Trae Young, Murray. Obviously, these are going to be the 2 guys that lead the way offensively. I'm totally fine spending up with either of them. I think the floor's a bit higher on Murray. I think the ceiling's probably a little bit higher on Trae Young when he gets it going. Both guards look good, though, in a great matchup. Like I said, Houston does not play defense. As far as the center rotation goes, Capella's fine, but I don't think he's going to play huge minutes this season. I do think Okongwu still gets a good amount of run. Like, you probably see less than 30 minutes from Capella, but he can still have one of those games where he goes for like a double-double and 5 blocks. Collins at 6'1", a little bit more confident with his minutes, but I think, again, he's just kind of there for me. DeAndre Hunter also just signed to a deal. He should see some solid run, but I think he's just fine. Okongwu, I mentioned him. He'll play off the bench. If you think they somewhat limit Capella or it's going to be even split, you can take a shot on Okongwu. Other guys off the bench, you probably see the Holiday brothers get decent run. Aaron Holiday gets some backup guard run. Justin Holiday probably gets some backup forward run. And then maybe one of the rookies like Tyrese Martin or AJ Griffin get in the rotation. Or actually Jalen Johnson, I should say. Jalen Johnson probably does see some rotation minutes at the flat min price. So in a large field tournament, I think he's at least worth a look. New Orleans and Brooklyn. So going to be interesting to see how this team meshes with Zion healthy. Now, the question is Zion going to be at any sort of a limit? I want to keep an eye on that. They limited him in the preseason. He kind of rolled his ankle the last preseason game. Of course, again, he was in my lineup. To no surprise. Like I said, we're keeping the streak going. We're going on almost 3 weeks now of either an injury or massive foul trouble. You know, with a 12-game slate, you better believe I'm going to keep that streak going. But yeah, with Zion, 9-1 is not a super cheap price point, but if there's no limitations on him, I'm fine firing him up in tournaments. I don't think I can play him in like a cash game setting. Ingram, CJ, both a bit cheaper. Again, it's just going to be interesting to see how this offense flows. I'm not a big fan of JV with playing Zion alongside of him. So, like, I don't know if there's any clear standouts for me on the Pelicans. This is also, like, quietly a pretty deep team. Larry Nance, solid player off the bench. Devontae Graham will get minutes on the bench. Herbert Jones will start. They do have Alvarado play off the bench. Trey Murphy played very well in the preseason. You probably see a little bit of run for Najee Marshall. So it's a pretty deep team. Maybe a little bit of backup 5 run for Hernan Gomez if there's no Jackson Hayes. I think Jackson Hayes is still out. He's actually questionable. So Jackson Hayes could get backup 5 run. It's a pretty deep team. It is. On the Brooklyn side, so Brooklyn actually a little bit thin here. No Joe Harris, no Seth Curry, no TJ Warren. So obviously starting 5 will be KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Nick Claxton, and then probably one of Royce O'Neal or Cam Thomas. If they want to go a bit smaller, they go Cam Thomas. If they want to go a little bit bigger, they go Royce O'Neal. That'd be my guess. But I think you do, like, this is just, they don't have a lot of options. So I think you see pretty big minutes for the big 3 here of KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons. KD probably be my favorite. 10,000 is a lot, but it's Kevin Durant. I think he looks pretty good. Kyrie in play, but again, prefer KD to Kyrie. And then Ben Simmons only 7K. A guy that you know what you're going to get out of Ben Simmons. Like, if you watch the preseason, he's the Ben Simmons of old. He's not going to do a ton of scoring, but he's going to do a lot of the peripheral stats. So $7,000 for a guy that probably plays 30, 35 minutes. I think he looks like a pretty decent option there in the mid-range. Patty Mills will play backup point guard run most likely. That's too expensive. Nick Claxton will start the 5. I think he is an okay play. As far as backup 5, they could go small with Markieff Morris, or they could go to Day'Ron Sharpe. If you think it's going to be Day'Ron Sharpe, you can take a shot at him at the flat min price. And I mentioned Royce O'Neal. He's playable, I guess, if he starts. Cam Thomas is a little bit pricey, but they just don't have a lot of options. So you probably do see a decent run from Cam Thomas, who I think is at least worth a look in GPPs. Oklahoma City, Minnesota. So SGA is going to be back. Starting 5 for the Thunder, probably Shea, Giddey, Dort, Pokashevsky, JRE would be my guess. So with Shea back, does kind of hurt Giddey. But the top 2 guards are in play. This is where the offense comes from, right? It's Shea and it's Giddey. JRE is just too expensive for me. Lou Dort, I mean, he's playable. He is relatively score independent, but he should see good minutes. So I'm fine if you want to fire up some Lou Dort. If Pokashevsky starts, also a guy that can stuff the stat sheet, looks okay. I do kind of like Baisley off the bench. I think he could get to backup 4, backup 5 run even if they go small. So Baisley at 4-4 does kind of intrigue me there for GPPs. And then I think a misprice here is the guard Jalen Williams is the flat min price. Now, he's not going to start most likely, but I do think he gets solid run off the bench, and he was really good in the preseason. So flat min price, the guard Jalen Williams I like. Be careful because there's another Jalen Williams who is a big. So yes, it is the cheaper Jalen Williams, the guard, that I prefer to the big. Moving on to Minnesota. So Minnesota didn't get to see a lot of Cat and Gobert playing together in the preseason, but Cat 9-8, Gobert 8-6, Edwards 8-4, D'Lo 7-5. To be honest, there's no one that really stands out. Obviously, there's a little bit of blowout risk in this game as well. All to seem priced about right. I wanted if there were guys that were a bit cheaper, I'd have some interest, but it just on a slate like this, there's honestly no one that really stands out to me. McDaniels should get the start at 4-5, but he's going to be the very clear 5th option offensively. Off the bench, you should see some slow-mo. You should see a little bit of Naz Reid, but with them having Gobert and Cat, I don't know how much exactly Naz Reid plays. So, and then I do think you see some backup point guard run for Jalen Noel at 3.3K. I think he's at least a little bit interesting there at that price point. Charlotte and San Antonio. So, what are we doing pricing-wise here? Charlotte, a lot of mispriced guys, but the San Antonio Spurs, once we'll talk, like, come on, right? What are we doing here, DraftKings? So, no LaMelo Ball. Offense is going to be run through 3 guys here. It's going to be Terry Rozier, it's going to be Gordon Hayward, it's going to be Kelly Oubre. I like all 3 a lot. A lot. Now, Charlotte can do a few things here. They can start Rozier, Oubre, Hayward, PJ, and Plumlee, or they can bring a guy like Oubre off the bench and maybe start like a DSJ or James Bouknight. What I will say, I think this Hornets team is awful. I think they finished dead last in the East. I think they are an awful, awful team. But yeah, I think, again, Rozier, Hayward, and Kelly Oubre, I like all 3 a lot. This is a game where you have 2 bad teams going up against each other, 2 teams that don't play a lot of defense. It looks really, really good. So I really like Rozier. I really like Hayward. I really like Kelly Oubre. I don't know really why PJ Washington's 7-1. Don't have a ton of interest in him. Plumlee, I mean, he's fine, but I would rather go to Oubre or Hayward. I think the ceiling's much higher in those guys at a similar price point. Off the bench, again, this is probably the worst bench I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. It's going to be most likely Nick Richards is the backup 5. They also do have rookie Mark Williams that could get a little bit of run. Dennis Smith Jr. should get some run, but he's 5'3". That's too expensive. You probably see some backup run for Cody Martin. Boak Knight has been absolutely awful. He also got arrested for DUI, so like, is he even going to be available? I don't think I can stomach anyone off the bench. It's mainly the main guys here for Charlotte. On the San Antonio Spurs side, what are we doing? What are we actually doing with these prices? So I go from a very tilting start to the NBA regular season, obviously with this massive foul trouble everyone I play. And now I got to put my trust in Popovich because literally everyone is underpriced on the Spurs. Not looking forward to loading up on the Spurs, but you kind of have to. So yeah, Keldon Johnson, 5'9". I mean, he's the number one option on this team. I just don't know why he's this. He should be like a $8,000 player. He's 5.9K. Jakob Poeltl, if he plays like 30 minutes, that is way too cheap. Devin Vassell is going to be one of the top options offensively. Why is he 4.6K? Trey Jones is literally the starting point guard, a guy that can stuff a stat sheet, going up against the Hornets and is 4.2K. What are we doing? Most likely the other starter is Sochan, but I prefer the other starters that I mentioned. I really like Keldon. I really like Poeltl. I really like Vassell. I really like Trey Jones. They're all very underpriced. Off the bench, you probably see some McDermott. You should see some Primo, a little bit of Richardson. I think Zach Collins is the backup 5, 3.9K. I do think he's a little bit interesting there. So that's probably the rotation there for the Spurs. But yeah, everyone is underpriced. Denver and Utah. So this game has a lot of blowout risk. But if it stays competitive, you could see some of these Nuggets put some really big scores. So Jokic, he's going to be going up against Kelly Olynyk, Walker Kessler. I mean, that's it. Those are the centers for the Jazz. Kelly Olynyk and Walker Kessler. Or they can try to throw like an undersized Vanderbilt or Lauri Markkanen. Like, Jokic is going to feast if this game can stay competitive. So Jokic looks phenomenal. The other options, Murray, Gordon, and MPJ, they're both more secondary plays. I think MPJ would probably be the next I'd look to at that price point at 5.5K. He's a frustrating roster, though, relatively score independent. KCP will be the other starter. I think I'd rather take a shot in Bones Highland off the bench. Bones Highland can be the sixth man. He's going to come off the bench and he's going to chuck. So I do like some Bones Highland. Bruce Brown, a little bit too pricey. I'd rather go to Bones off the bench. Dusty Jeff Smith will get some backup run as well as DeAndre Jordan, but I'm not playing either of those dust balls on this slate. So really, the main guys plus Bones Highland is where I'm looking. The Utah Jazz. I mean, this team, I don't know who's worse between the Jazz and the Hornets. It's pretty close. Now, rotation-wise, they've been mixing up the starting lineup. You do have Beasley back who could start. The last couple games, they've been starting Conley, Clarkson, Markin, Vanderbilt, and Kelly Olynyk. So at the moment, I think it could be that. But if Beasley starts for Clarkson, I would not be surprised. I just don't know if there's anyone that really stands out, to be honest. I think like Kelly O, if he can stay out of foul trouble, does intrigue me. Markkanen's been one of their better players offensively. He's 5'3". He's fine. The issue with the guards is they have a lot of guys. Conley, Clarkson, Sexton probably comes off the bench. They have Malik Beasley. So I want to see what they do with the starting lineup. But Utah team's a little bit tough to break down. Obachi, be careful. He has not been in the rotation. So I don't think he plays. Vanderbilt probably starts, but he's just not going to do much there. Walker Kessler will get the backup 5 run. If Olynyk gets in foul trouble, Walker Kessler is going to have to play. I think he is a sneaky value play there at 4-1. You do probably see Rudy Gay. Like, why? What are the Jazz do? Why is Rudy Gay still on this team? Why is Mike Conley still on this team? Why are they, like, what are we doing here? But they're on the team. So you probably do see a little bit of run of Rudy Gay off the bench, maybe a little bit of THT. My boy NAW, who is, I took a huge L on him last year. I thought he was going to have a really good year. That was get the clown paint for me, right? I thought NAW was going to have a massive year for the Pelicans. Was that ever a swing and a miss? Dallas and Phoenix. So Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. If you have the salary for him, great. He's going to play big minutes. He's going to do everything for the team. He looks good. Sixth man, Christian Wood at 6'7". I'm okay with it for tournaments. Probably not a cash game play. As far as the starting 2 goes, I mean, I think it's going to be Tim Hardaway Jr., but last game they started Dinwiddie. We'll see. I mean, Dinwiddie's got a little bit of a higher floor than THJ. THJ a little bit more score independent. McGee's going to start, but probably not going to play huge minutes. So You got Christian Wood, who's going to get a lot of that center run, even though he's going to come off the bench. And then you just have the wings that are going to stand in the corner, and Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock. And a 12-game slate, I don't see the ceiling there. Sure, one of those guys can knock down 5-6 threes. It's possible, but I just don't think it's worth going there. Moving on to Phoenix. So Phoenix Suns, Jay Crowder doesn't look like he can play for this team. No Landry Shamet. The big three here, you got Booker, Paul, Ayton. Booker at 8'9", Paul at 7'4", Ayton at 6'2". So I actually think Chris Paul looks the best of this bunch, but DeAndre Ayton at 6'2" does feel too cheap too. So I like Paul, I like Booker, or I like Paul, I like Ayton. Booker is the guy with the highest ceiling, but is the most expensive. Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, they're the wings, kind of indifferent on both. They should both see 30-plus minutes. I mean, this team does not have a lot of depth right now. So you should get a lot of run for Bridges and Johnson. I do like some campaign off the bench. I would think he probably plays around 20 minutes, maybe more. He's going to be aggressive when he's out there, so I do like some campaign. Now, in the preseason, they went to Jock Landale, who did the Suns release him? Okay, no, they didn't. But so in the preseason, they've been going to the backup was Jock Landale. But looking at the depth chart, they actually do have Dario Saric as the backup, and they actually have Bismack Biyombo too ahead of Landale. So, I mean, if I knew for sure that Landale, again, was going to get the backup 5 run, I would have interest in him at the flat min price. But they could go to Biyombo, they could go to Saric. So kind of like a Philly situation, right, where we had Harrell and Reed, and we didn't really know. In the preseason, it was Paul Reed getting the backup 5 run. But you saw tonight, it was Montrezl Harrell. So in the preseason for the Suns, it was Jock Landale. But do I want to risk a DNP on a 12-game slate? Probably not. And finally, Portland and Sacramento. In this game, I like. Another matchup where two not-so-good teams going up against each other. Should be played at a relatively fast pace. So the top two guys here, Lillard and Nurkic. Lillard is 9'4". My boy, the Bosnian Beast, is only 6.3K. Oh, yeah. I like me some Yusuf Nurkic tomorrow. So if he can stay out of foul trouble, again, I played Nurkic last preseason slate. He had 5 fouls in 12 minutes, guys. 5, one slate. One slate is all I ask. He had literally almost fouled out before half was over when I played Nurkic. And if Nurkic had not been in massive foul trouble, I probably would have finished second in high stakes tournament that night. So it's just like, come on, right? There's just no, I can't deal with any more foul trouble. I cannot deal with any more foul trouble. But yeah, Nurkic, if he stays out of foul trouble, I mean, look who they have behind him. They've actually been playing Olivier Sarr, the backup 5 behind him. He's out. So Drew Eubanks is going to be the backup. I mean, talk about a bad bench. I talked about Hornets bench. I mean, this Blazers bench is really, really bad too, with Gary Payton Jr. still out, or Gary Payton III, I should say. But yeah, I think Nurkic probably my favorite play here on the Blazers. No surprise there. I am a little bit biased, but yeah, Nurkic does feel too cheap. The other starters, Simons, Grant, and Hart, I think they're all fair options. Like, you should see a lot of minutes for these guys because their bench is awful. Off the bench, probably the first guy off the bench is going to be Keon Johnson. That's how bad this bench is. Keon Johnson, I think, will be the 6th man at the moment. Off the bench, you should see Keon Johnson, Drew Eubanks be the backup 5, Nasir Little, who's been really bad too, and then Shaedon Sharpe, who's not been great, the rookie. So that's most likely going to be the bench rotation. It's not good. It is not good. So I think these starters get a lot of run. Nurkic, my favorite, but I think you can make the argument for any of those 5 guys. And finally, the Kings. So no Keegan Murray, Huerter questionable. Starting unit should be Fox, Sabonis, Barnes, Huerter if he plays. If not, you probably see Malik Monk in the starting 5. And then the power forward position, I mean, they've been starting KZ Okpala a lot. I don't know why. They started Trey Lyles one game. I mean, the starter should be Keegan Murray when he's healthy. That's very clear. He should be the starter. Keegan Murray's been good in the preseason. But yeah, the starting 4, if it's Trey Lyles, I do kind of like him at 3.3K. If it's Okpala, I'm just not going to go there. But going back to the top guys, I mean, the offense is run through 2 guys. It is Fox and it's Sabonis. I like both a good amount. Sabonis, I give the edge to. He's a guy that, I mean, he has triple-double upside whenever he touches the court. He uses a very high floor. So I like the 2 main guys here for Sacramento quite a bit. Harrison Barnes, here's the thing. If you've been playing NBA DFS, you know, like the last 3 years, Harrison Barnes somehow just starts the year off super strong. He'll average like 40 fantasy points a game, and then he'll turn back into the old Harrison Barnes and be awful and just stand in the corner and shoot 3. So If we base it off the last few years, then Harrison Barnes is a good play. But will we get that Harrison Barnes again to start the season? I don't know. Again, Herter, if he plays, is fine. If he misses, I do kind of like Malik Monk at 4.2K. You will see some run probably for Mitchell and Terrence Davis off the bench. Rashawn Holmes will play the backup 5 at 4.1. Probably some other value plays I would prefer. So, yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the video. I know that was a longer one, but 12 games was a lot to talk about. So, thanks again for watching. Really do appreciate the support. Again, just make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And can I please get a slate with no foul trouble tomorrow? Please. All I ask is one slate. So, all right, guys. Good luck, and I'll see you.